Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. What is going on? And welcome back to another fun-filled episode of The Old Final Word here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy MattyB on the Wednesday night edition of the program. That means we have one more left to go until we come to the end of our broadcast week, but it has been a fabulous week, and let's continue the fun tonight. Let's continue what we're doing, and let's continue rolling on the great truth train here throughout this week. Is it a quiet period in sports? It kind of is, and I don't like it, man. I hate it. I don't like this time of the year. I don't like this transitional weather. I don't like this transitional sports time. You really, really, really miss good winter sports when you don't have them. And what I mean by that is when you have a basketball team and a hockey team that are nowhere near championship caliber or even playoff caliber, it definitely makes this time of the year that much worse for me as we really count down the days, or I am personally counting down the days to the start of the baseball season, even though it already has begun. So I should say, more importantly, I'm counting down the days to the start of the Phillies baseball season, which now is 8 days away as we creep another day closer. But it cannot get here more fast for me. So we're going to attempt to entertain and enlighten tonight, as we do every night. We're going to make that attempt. As the title of the program alludes to, tonight's program will be dedicated mostly to your Philadelphia Eagles, as we're going to say goodbye to a legend. That's right, Brandon Graham. Yesterday, I did not really get into the retirement news yesterday on last night's show, but I will spend a little time tonight glossing back or paying attention to a career that definitely needs to be remembered and celebrated, and, you know, kind of put into some perspective of what we've lost as a Philadelphia Eagle football team over the last 3 seasons or 2 seasons, you know, all-time Eagles, and to kind of look back and maybe put some perspective on how lucky the Eagles were and how lucky they, you know, the fans of this football team were in the long run with players like Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, and Brandon Graham. It's very seldom that you have 3 all-time players. And if you want to throw Lane Johnson in that group, you most certainly can. So that's 4 all-time great Eagle players, all kind of transcending the same time. I don't know of any other era in Eagle football that has had that. And the one common thread all these 4 players have, which I think needs to be celebrated a lot more than it has been, is the fact that they've all spent their entire career here. In this day and age, it was very, very hard to do. So we're going to look back on Brandon Graham a little bit, and we're going to, you know, wish him well in his retirement. We're also going to look at the baseball season has begun, but now it's over. It started and now it's stopped as the Dodgers and Cubs completed their 2-game set in Tokyo. The Dodgers taking both games. Dodgers won today 6-3, and Shohei Ohtani, you know, right out of the gate, gets the spotlight, you know, and definitely maximizes his time in the spotlight. We're going to review what Ohtani did over the last 2 games and why he probably is, and it pains me to say this, the best player in the game today. We're also going to take a look at the Flyers because I've kind of been negligent on the Flyers as well. But we're going to look at the Flyers from a different perspective. Tonight's kind of a perspective show, I guess. So we're going to look at the Flyers from a different perspective. We're going to look at the Flyers from the rebuild perspective and how long this really could take. And we're going to focus on one area, a very important area, extremely important area of the organization. And we're going to talk about how long this rebuild could take. And if you look at some of the hard evidence, it might not be very optimistic. And then we'll also do our of the night segment, our card of the night, card review, all those great, wonderful things. Your day in Philadelphia sports history, which of course we do to start off every show. All those great and wonderful things that we do every night here on the program. And let me remind you, the little ticker there below you says, we are available on every social media platform. So please give us a like, a subscribe, a share, a shout out as we continue to grow this network leaps and bounds every single day. And a little programming note and a little plug, Sunday, in anticipation of the Phillies start of the regular season, we will be with you. The Fighting's Final will be back. Season number 4 in the house. as we will prepare you for the 2025 Philly season with an only way we can with our in-depth analysis and our preview of what you should be looking for and what we're looking for the 2025 Phillies. So make sure you're here Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on the network for the Fighting's Final Phillies season preview episode. So let's get it going. Let's strap it in. Let's strap it on. Let's get your heads, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And off we go with your day in Philadelphia history. We go back to the great year 1981 for this nugget of information. And it was a Flyers point, the greatest Philadelphia Flyer of all time. And I don't know if that's I haven't really seen or heard a debate recently at all, and it's really messed up too about this point. But I maybe it's because it's not debatable. But the greatest Flyer of all time, Bobby Clark, on this night back in '81, recorded his 1,000th NHL point in a 5-3 Flyer win over the Bruins at the Spectrum. Earlier in that game, the game that he registers a 1,000th point, he takes a shot to the head. Now, this is back in the day when they didn't wear helmets. And he took a few stitches, but he did not come out of the game. He stayed in the game, and he was able to record the player. It was a goal that he scored in the third period to give the Flyers a 5-0 lead. They would hold on to win 5-3. Clark was just the 15th player in NHL history to accomplish defeat at that time, and the first to do it while wearing solely orange and black. So he's the first all-time Flyer, the entire time and his march to 1,000 points spent in orange and black. So he's the first Flyer to do that in the history of the franchise. And again, is there a debate anymore about whether or not Bobby Clark was the greatest Flyer of all time? And is it sad to say that he still is considered the greatest Flyer of all time? Is that a jab at the organization and the franchise? Bobby Clark, who has not played here since the 80s, is still considered the greatest player of all time in the history of the franchise. And does the Stanley Cups that Bobby Clark won, the only era of Flyer hockey that we won championships, does that lend into the legacy of Bobby Clark? If Eric Lindros would have won 2 or 3 Stanley Cups in his time in Philadelphia, would we be forgetting all about Bobby Clark and solely focusing on Eric Lindros? I think that's a possibility, and I think it's a very debatable topic. But for my dime, Bobby Clark still is the greatest Flyer to ever play the game. Much like Mike Schmidt still is the best Philly to ever play the game, and they've won a World Series since Mike Schmidt retired. So when you're great, you're great, and regardless of whether or not you win championships during your time, of course, those help immensely to cement your legacy. But yeah, I'm still going to go with Bobby Clark. So on this night back in '81, Clark recorded his 1,000th point, NHL point, the first to ever do it solely as a Flyer. So there you go. Happy 1,000th point night for Bobby Clark. And that was your day in Philadelphia sports history. Brought to you by the Wraparound with Sal G. Yes, every Monday at 7. There is some, and I'll get to that. Every Monday at 7, join Sal G as he gives you the recap of the week that was in Philadelphia sports, exclusively here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. But we are making some changes with the Wraparound. Sal, and I can publicly say this, I don't think Sal will get mad if I do. Sal has decided to solely concentrate his time and energy on post-game shows going forward. He's going to take a little break. Whether or not I'm going to put this Wraparound with Sal G in hiatus right now, I don't know. I may do some rotating special guest hosts on that show and then potentially put it in hiatus. But as of now, it's still here and it's still going to be part of the rotation. And whenever Sal wants to get back to it, he's certainly welcome to do so. But yeah, so Sal's going to concentrate mainly on post games going forward. But that's all good. As I said, Sal's a very important member of what we do here. All right, let's go into our first topic of the day, the MLB baseball season. MLB season. I don't have to why did I have to say baseball? But MLB season is underway, but it's stopped. It got underway for 2 days, but now it's back in storage for at least another week or 8 days as the Cubs and Dodgers wrapped up their 2-game set in Tokyo, kicking off the season for both those two teams. Dodgers, a very stout championship defense appearance and performance in front of the international stage out there in Japan over the last 2 days. If you were able to catch the games, and I know it was hard for a lot of people to catch the games live. It was on at 6 a.m. both days, but you can go back and watch it archived. I suggest you sit down and watch it because it's no secret to why the Dodgers are the defending world champions. It's really not once you watch these games. It's pitching and hitting, and that's essentially what the Dodgers do very well, and they've done it. They did it well last year, and they are starting out doing it well this year as both Yamamoto and Sasaki, I guess that's how you say his name, the other Japanese pitcher that made his MLB debut this morning for the Dodgers, pitched effectively. I'm not going to say they were dominant, but they were effective. But the real story in this series has got to be Shohei Ohtani. And as much as it pains me to say that, and as much as it pains me to kind of, slide over the mantle there and say, you know what, I got to give him respect. There's been a handful of great Japanese players that have come down the pike. Ichiro, obviously, probably the best before Ohtani, right? I don't think anybody can deny that. Ichiro not only was able to do it well, but he did it well throughout a sustained career in Major League Baseball. But what Ohtani's done over the last 17, he was a rookie in 17, so 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 7, 8 years has been absolutely stunning. Going through not only being able to be an effective dominant pitcher, but his hitting ability, his presence on the field. Everyone's getting mad at the Dodgers for how they went about assembling these teams. And I think it's just sour grapes and jealousy because I know everybody else would we would have loved to have Shohei Ohtani here. And everybody else would love to have Shohei. Yamamoto would have fit in nice in this pitching staff. I mean, you can get mad at the Dodgers all you want for the way they're deferring money, but isn't that how Howie does things? He defers money and he hides money through contracts. There's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing illegal about that. It's smart business. So don't get mad at the Dodgers. You sound like a bunch of Green Bay Packer fans right now. By the way, we'll talk about that as well. But you sound like a bunch of Green Bay Packer fans. If you don't like it, then beat them at their own game. Go out there and get these contracts done and lure these players to come to you. So all this nonsense about, the Dodgers, they're buying their team. Well, yeah, guess what, man? So do the Phillies. I mean, Bryce Harper ain't homegrown. Kyle Schwarber ain't homegrown. Trey Turner ain't home. I mean, how many players on the Phillies really starting lineup are homegrown? Yeah, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm. Just kind of stopping right there, and then you got Nola, you got Suarez, you got Sanchez, you got a handful of homegrown players, and the rest of them are all bought and paid for. So I don't want to hear any nonsense about how you're pissed off about the Dodgers and how they're able to maneuver money and be, nefarious allegedly in what giving contracts to players. So Ohtani just is a different level of good. This series, these last 2 games, 2 games, 3 hits, 3 runs, a homer, 2 RBIs, 8 at-bats, a batting average of 389, and an OBP of 737 in the last 2 games. And just every bit the MVP type player he is, and every bit representing every bit of the world champions that the Dodgers are. And I don't know what I saw today, and granted, 2 games into the season, I totally understand that, but when I look at the Dodgers as you got to look at them as the class of Major League Baseball right now because they are the best. They're the defending world champions. Now, when you look at the Dodgers, do the Phillies at all match up well with the Los Angeles Dodgers? I mean, right now, if in a 7-game series, can the Phillies beat the Dodgers? I don't know, man. I mean, you look at some players that are, like, you look at Ohtani, and he's viewed, I guess you can look at Harper as our Ohtani, but the difference between Harper and Ohtani is Ohtani's clutch, Harper isn't. You look at the Dodger pitching staff, young as it is and somewhat unproven as it is. I don't know if they're on and if they're pitching well. I don't know, with the exception of Nola and Wheeler, how deep we can go against them pitching wise. You got to factor Betson, you got to factor Muncy, Freeman, you got to factor in the rest of those players too. And I don't know how well the Phillies match with the Dodgers. I really don't. And watching them over the last 2 games. Now, granted, the Cubs ain't anything to shake a stick at. They're really not that good. But when you look at the Dodgers over the last 2 games, it's not a secret sauce to how they won. It was effective pitching and just clutch hitting and Ohtani. So I said this the other night about Harper. I don't want Harper to bat 500, knock out, hit 75 home runs, drive in 300 runs. I don't want that. I want Harper to bat 280, 30 homers, and 120 RBIs. That's what I want from Harper. Because that tells me he's clutch. That tells me he's getting hits when we need him to get hits. That's telling me he's cleaning up base runners on the base paths. He's driving in runs. He's being clutch. And that is the one key factor of Bryce Harper that has kind of disappeared over the last year or two. He's just not clutch anymore. And I need him to return to that. I said it last night. I don't care if he goes 1 for 4 or 1 for 5 in a game. Just as long as that one comes in the 8th inning or the 9th inning with the game on the line. That's what, that's what I'm looking for from this guy. And I haven't seen it for a couple of years. Ohtani, you see that from him. You see the clutch hitting. He comes in, he delivers when he's needed to deliver. And it's just a different world right there. It's a different world for the Dodgers. It's a different world for him. It's a different type of environment. It's just a different feel. And like it or not lump it, and I don't like it because I'm not a Dodger guy, obviously, but the Dodgers are the best team in Major League Baseball, and they belong there. They belong in that vein. Barbara checking in. Hey, Barbara, how you doing? Schwarber has struck out 16 times in 33 at-bats this spring. Yeah, I did see that. Matter of fact, I put a little thing up there on the old social media today about that. Entering play today, Schwarber had struck out 16 times for the last 33 at-bats this season. Now, how's that make you feel? One thing that Schwarber was very consistent with, and I guess you can say Schwarber was clutch last year, or he put bat the ball, and that's not a good sign that he's striking out literally over, about half his at-bats this spring. That's not good at all. I agree. But, yeah, that's not good at all. It's terrible, actually. So, I mean, take that for what it is. And again, that's what I'm talking about, clutch. And the same could be said about all of them, really, about every Phillies batter in the lineup. It's unrealistic. And, it was funny because I was looking at old show material from like a year ago. And it was funny because I was watching, I'm not going to give him a plug. Well, yeah, I should. So I was watching an old PM in the AM show from like 10 months ago. I don't know how the freak I stumbled upon this, but I did. It was a Father's Day show this past summer. And it was funny because it was right on the heels of the Phillies coming back from London. And then they went to Boston and Baltimore, and they struggled through those 2 series. And I was listening to Al and Mike, and this is actually kind of where the Excuse Emporium was born. It was born around this time because I believe Al had the Fightins final during the Boston series, and he was making up all these excuses of why the Phillies were struggling. They weren't, playing well. Again, it's right after London. So this is right when the collapse began, right? But this is when I heard the excuses of they're tired, they're not in their element. They miss their parents. They miss their wives. They miss their kids. They miss putting their slippers under their bed. They miss taking a shower without shower shoes. All the nonsensical excuses I heard about why they were losing, not because they weren't getting clutch hitting or their pitching was not as sharp. Ranger had kind of fallen off a little bit at that point. They were just not getting it done on the field. But I had to hear all these existential, get that word out, excuses about why they were struggling. And again, from that was born the Big Al's Excuse Emporium, because I just was tired of hearing the Homer excuse train roll about why they were losing. They were losing because they weren't good, and it turned out they really weren't good, as they would go 500 the rest of the way throughout the rest of the season. But on this particular episode, this particular show that I was watching, they were both Mike and Al were going after Pat pretty friggin' hard, and my name was being thrown around like it was nothing, and I wasn't even on that show. And so on my Monday night show, goes back in the day, I used to have the Monday night 8 o'clock on EOP, and I did a show talking Philly sports with MattyB, and I did a show to sort of clap back, and obviously I was right. Pat was right. They were wrong because and I also, this is also where I kept hearing it's baseball. That's baseball. That's what happens. That all that nonsense. So it was funny. It was funny for me to stumble upon that show, and watch that because, boy, how things worked out. Anyway, but yeah, it's running out of time. We're 8 days away from the start of the regular season. Pat, speaking of the devil, Pat, what's up, man? Running out of time. 8 days away from the regular season, and we got Kyle Schwarber swinging like that. But finishing up my point about Shohei Ohtani, and I'm going to go to the baseball card side of it too. If you are able to hold on to if you have some rookie cards of Ohtani rolling around, even if they're base cards, put them to the side, protect them, put them in a box somewhere, put them in a binder somewhere, and forget about them, because I'm telling you, when it's all said and done with this guy, he might go down as one of the greatest ever. And those cards might be worth a very pretty penny 20, 30 years from now, especially if you have a rookie card. There's multiple rookie cards of him rolling around. And especially if you have a refractor or a foil or anything like that. But if you even have a base card, like I have a lot of base Ohtani rookie cards. And those are going to be worth money too. So Shohei Ohtani doing it for the Dodgers, doing it to the Cubs, getting the 2025 MLB season off with a bang in Japan, his native land. And now the Dodgers and Cubs go back to spring training. I think they will probably resume play on Monday, or maybe they do play another game or two. I know that they'll go back to Arizona and play, I think, 1 or 2 more games before they wrap up on Tuesday. I believe. Tuesday or Wednesday is the final day of spring training. I'm not sure which day, but now the MLB season's back in hiatus. So we got 2 games in, and now we're going to pause for a week and reset. But and I already told you my opinion on that. I hate that, man. If 2 of them are going to go, we all go. That's how it should be, man. The damn season should have started already. I would much prefer to start the season now and end it around the 20th of September. Start the playoffs, 22nd, 23rd of September, and then roll those playoffs to like the 25th, 26th of October, to not have to play baseball in November, potentially. I think that would be better. Why not? I mean, are teams really going to get much more out of spring training over the next 8 days or next 4 or 5, the last 5 games? Is it really? I know might be some battles that are being fought for final roster spots, but come on, man. I would much prefer the regular season to be off and running right now. Now, again, you got to deal with some elements, and you deal with some situations in the northern cities with weather. I understand that, but on the back end, it would be much better, man. I wouldn't have to wait to the end of September, like the very end of September, to like literally October 1st. You can get the playoffs started around the 25th, and you can roll the playoffs through the 25th or so of October. You wouldn't have a danger of going into November and dealing with more element issues in the northern cities. So I don't know, man. If 2 of them are going to play, we all should play, but that's not how they did it. Cubs and Dodgers kicked it off. Now we go back to spring training for another week, and then we start the regular season all over again. So do the Phillies match well with the Dodgers? Going to be interesting. Most power rankings have the Dodgers ahead of the Phillies right now. They actually have the Dodgers at 1 and the Phillies at 2. Is that legitimate? And we're about to find all this stuff out very early on, because the Phillies, if you've taken a look at their schedule, have 3 against Washington, come home for 3 against the Rockies. Or it's a 6-game homestand. They do 3 on the road against Washington, and they come home for 3 against Colorado, and then 3 against the Dodgers. So we're going to see the Dodgers here very early, in early April. And I don't know if you'll be able to get a good gauge there, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, that a very early season test for the 2025 Phillies, as they'll see the Dodgers on their 3rd series of the season. So looking forward to that. All right, let's transition now to kind of the other side of my topic, the other part 2 of our theme tonight. After 15 years, Brandon Graham decided yesterday to hang it up. And you know what? No brainer there. 2-time Super Bowl champion. Goes out as a Super Bowl champion. Definitely an all-time Eagle. He'll join Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox. I don't know if Fletcher Cox is considered. If you look at Fletcher Cox, is that a number retirement right there? Are you looking at that as retiring a number? I mean, I know the Eagles have the same sort of unwritten rules the Phillies do when it comes to retiring of their numbers. unless you are like generational, and you're a no-brainer to get into Canton. But they kind of look at Canton as the gauge to retire your number. Now, I don't know if Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham rate out to be football Hall of Famers. They will be Eagle football Hall of Famers. They will get into the Eagles Hall of Fame, but do they rate out to be NFL Hall of Famers or football Hall of Famers? Jason Kelce most certainly will at some point get into Canton. I believe that. So with that being said, Kelce's number probably is the next one to get retired. And then right behind him is probably going to be Lane Johnson when he gets into the Hall of Fame. But I don't know if Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox are locks to get into the Football Hall of Fame. I'm not sure. Maybe Brandon Graham is. I don't know. Maybe Brandon Graham has a slight edge over Fletcher to get into the Hall of Fame. But as you sit here and you watch the end of these careers, and Brandon Graham's career was very vital and very involved in the success of the Philadelphia Eagles over multiple years. But when you look at Brandon Graham, and I was actually brought back to this watching his retirement speech the other day or yesterday, and I'm thinking, wait, we just did this last year with Jason Kelce, and we're going to do it here probably in about 2 years with Lane Johnson. I know he just reworked his deal to keep him through 27, and that's probably going to be it. He's not going to rework his contract anymore. He's going to play this year and next year. I don't. Does he? Oh, is it through 26? His new contract? But his career is coming to an end, and he's going to be the next one we got to sit down and listen to. But when you put it into perspective, you got Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelce, Brandon Graham, and Lane Johnson. There's 4 players, 4 all-time Eagles, all playing at the same period of time, and all of them Eagles. Like, that's it. Start and end of their career was in Philadelphia. It's truly remarkable in this day and age when you think of it. It's truly remarkable. And as much guff as I give the Birds, and I do, right? I do. You got to sit back and you got to like look at it with a sense of wonderment, so to speak, and marvel over that they're you got these 4 players, careers who are all kind of winding down right now, but they still played here together for 15 to 17 to 18 years together. And that's the only team they ever played for. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelce, and Lane Johnson have only been Eagles. And that's a testament to the organization. It is. It's a testament to the city, the organization, the fan base. It's a feather in their cap. So, and it is also a stark dose of reality, man, because you got 4 all-time Eagles literally at the twilight of their careers. 3 of them now out and 1 left. Lane Johnson's the only one standing left, right? And with the removal of Lovato, because he's gone, right? The long snapper's gone. What are we down to now when it comes to Super Bowl 17 champions now, or the 2017, 2018 Super Bowl 52? It's only Lane Johnson and Jake Elliott now are the only 2 members of that Super Bowl championship team. Now, I guess it kind of gets washed away with the Super Bowl last year, but still, you're looking at all-time Eagle players, all now wrapping it up. And you've got to look maybe towards the future a little bit and think, is this the new norm? And that's, I can't believe I'm saying this, but is this the new norm? Is the Jalen Carters, is the Zach Bonds, the Jalen Hurts, the Devontae Smiths, are these the next crop of 15 to 18-year Eagles, all-time Eagles? Are we going to go? Is this now the new norm? As I said, are we going to cycle now to another group of Eagle players that will stay here for 15 to 17, 18 years and become that next generation? Because prior to this current group of Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelce, Brandon Graham, and Lane Johnson, I don't remember a time in Eagle history where 4 players spent their entire career here and then all retired around the same time and are now considered all-time Eagles. I don't remember that at all throughout my career or my life as an Eagle fan. I don't remember that at all. This is like the first time. But is this the start of that? And is this something that we should expect? Or is this, one of those things that just happened to be, and we were lucky enough to capture it and see it and watch it kind of progress? It's very unique in this day and age that players will stay with the same organization for their entire career. Very unique at all, indeed. And we now have witnessed 3 of them, and with the 4th one about 2 or 3 years away from retiring. And I think that there's not enough attention being paid to that as we look back on the career of Brandon Graham. And I'm not lumping him in. I'm not saying that he's part of, that his career was only successful because he played with Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelce, and Lane Johnson. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he was part of an all-time Eagle group of teams that had these 4 guys at the same time pretty much throughout that whole time. It's truly amazing. And I don't think enough attention is being paid. So I'm paying attention to it. And I want to salute Brandon Graham on a great career and wish him nothing but the best. Salute Jason Kelce on a great career and salute Fletcher Cox, and then wish Lane Johnson a injury-free remainder of his Hall of Fame career. Because I don't think we're going to see it again. I don't think we're going to see 4 players spend 15 to 18 years here, just here, and be celebrated like this. And I hope, as I said, I don't know, the Eagles kind of roll this unwritten rule when it comes to retiring of jerseys. It's dictated by Canton. It's dictated by their Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame chances. I don't know if Brandon Graham's a Hall of Famer. I know he's an Eagles Hall of Famer, but I don't know if he's a Football Hall of Famer. I don't know if Fletcher Cox is a Football Hall of Famer. He is an Eagles Hall of Famer. I think Jason Kelce is a Football Hall of Famer, and he's definitely an Eagles Hall of Famer. And Lane Johnson most certainly is a Football Hall of Famer and an Eagles Hall of Famer. So as the Eagles sort of have that unwritten rule when it comes to retiring their numbers, so does that mean that Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson are the next 2 numbers that you can expect the Eagles to potentially retire? Or is there a case to be made for Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox's number to be retired? I say there is a case to be made, but I don't know how strong that case is. But I can definitely tell you that Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson will be the next 2 numbers retired by the Eagles in the history of the franchise. So congratulations to Brandon Graham, and a speedy retirement, and a fun retirement's not all it's cracked up to be, man. Take it from somebody who knows. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough assimilating to the outside world. I'm talking like a prisoner. It is, man. It's been hard for me. Yeah. Certain things I can get away with in the military, I can't get away with out here. I'm kind of realizing that right now. Anyway, so Godspeed to Brandon Graham, and a great career, and a hopefully, I don't know, I say Canton's a shot. He'll be on the ballot. I don't know if he gets in, but he might have a shot. All right. So before we transition to our next segment, I remind you that the final word is also, which of course is the show that you're watching right now. Final word with MattyB, typically on 8 o'clock at night, but tonight we had to go a little late. But Tuesdays to Thursdays, or Sunday through Thursday, Jesus Christ, 8 p.m. on the network. Join me every night of those days, and we're gonna have fun like we do tonight. So make sure you're tuned in to the final word, which you are right now. That's great. All right, so let's move to the Flyers, and I've been hearing a lot about the Flyers lately, and there's a lot of head hanging going on, a lot of sand kicking happening, a lot of realization that this is it, it's over, and we're getting to the end. The Flyers tomorrow will be in Tampa. Is that right? No, Washington. I don't know. They've been caught up with the Lightning lately, but in Washington tomorrow, as they continue their final stretch run to end this season. I think they got 11 games left or so, 13 games or something like that. 11, 13, something. And we got you covered here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, as our boy Sal, the aforementioned Sal, will be your liaison for the Clear the Ice program tomorrow night. And then Mike will have you Thursday or Saturday against the Dallas Stars. And don't forget, we are wrapping up our coverage of Clear the Ice on the 31st of March. That's right. We are going to shut down Clear the Ice for the season on the 31st of March. So we can focus solely on the Phillies. But I got to thinking about the rebuild, and I got to thinking about a lot of the things that, especially when you look at the Flyers and Sixers side by side, And there's a lot of venom going back between, obviously, that what Daryl Morey has done to this team and whatever you, Josh Harris, whatever, however you want to view the Sixers and the Flyers. But I'm thinking that Danny Briere might be getting past that. Does he deserve? And let me finish. And I do think that he's doing the right job. And I don't know, and I'm becoming more and more aware of how badly this organization was screwed up by Chuck Fletcher and Ron Hextall collectively. They screw things up here in a big way. Hextall probably more so than Fletcher, because Hextall had a abundance of draft picks, high draft capital over multiple years, and just missed on every pick. I want to say he missed every one, with maybe the exception of a couple. But he had a lot of draft picks that he just completely missed. And that really set the organization back. Chuck Fletcher came in, thought he could win with what we had, and one day was making trades to win a Stanley Cup, and then the next day making trades for 5 years from now. So Chuck Fletcher was caught between two different worlds. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. He didn't know if we were a winning team just needing to be tweaked or a rebuilding team that needed a complete overhaul. And he tried to run in between, down the middle of the road on that, and he got squished like grape, because you can't do that. It's one direction or another. So Hextall set the wheels in motion, and then Fletcher drove it into a wall, I guess. And then now Danny B is trying to put that back together again. But as I look at this, and we have the unique pleasure here on the It's a Wrap show, or on the Final Word on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. If you've been with me over the last 90 some odd episodes that we've done here on this program, and if you were with me during my EOP days, I spent a lot of time looking at prospects. My life is completely controlled by prospect players, both in the Flyers and the Philly system. And I do it for a couple reasons. One, to educate myself, to really get an idea of how far away a team might be or what the future might look like. Because even with all the free agent moves and all the signings that you can do, you still have to be able to build from the draft. Things have not changed that much. Championship teams, consistent, may I say the word dynasty teams, come from good drafting and good player development. And I don't care what sport you're in or what era of sports you're in, it comes from there. Yes, free agency is important if you can manage your cap. You can put the players around these prospects and these developing players that take your team over the edge. That is correct. But when at the end of the day, those free agent, those high priced, deals that you make, they eventually come due, and you're left with nothing but your prospects. And look at what the Eagles are going through right now. It's kind of the same thing. And the Eagles are hoping that they've drafted well over the last few years in order to sort of withhold or kind of, weather the storm here when it comes to these free agent moves. So with the Flyers situation heading into this summer, they got 7 draft picks in the first 2 rounds of this upcoming draft. They also, I think, 12 total picks in the entire draft, which they're not going to use those. And I don't think they should. There's got to be some trades made. They also go into the summer right now with the 7th most cap room in the NHL, which is amazing from Danny B, that he's been able to sort of maneuver his way, out of some of these contracts as quickly as he's been able to do it. You got more money coming off the books because you got Cal Peterson's money that's going to pop off the books this summer. And you also got Provorov's money that's going to fall off the books this summer. The Flyers are still paying like 60% of his contract, but that comes due this summer. So they got a potential here to go up into the top 5 of most salary cap available in the NHL, which is amazing. When you look at where they came from. Now, the free agent class of 2025 is a little old. I mean, there's some talent. There's a lot of talent, but a lot of older talent. And I don't know if these players necessarily fit with what the Flyers are looking for long term. And I don't know if the Flyers are into signing short-term players. I don't think they are. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're not very active in seeking out some of the high-priced free agents. They go more for those level B free agents that we talk about a lot, those level C free agents. And I would be very surprised if the Flyers are not heavily involved in trades this summer, using those 12 draft picks, using that cap room that they can absorb contracts. using some, momentum with some players that they've had on the roster right now that maybe other teams are looking at, i.e. Ristolainen, i.e. God, hopefully Travis Sanheim, that teams are like, you know what, we could take on that contract and we could take on that player because we think that player can help us. So I expect Danny B to be extremely aggressive in trades this summer. And I think that is probably the smarter way for the Flyers to go based on what the free agency class is of this year. Next year's free agent class is a little bit better. So, Flyers don't have to spend all their money this year. They can roll that over to 26, but there's got to be some change here. We got to add some assets. We got to bring players here. I mean, enough's enough with this. So we need to start adding instead of subtracting. But at the end of the day, it still, to me, goes back to your prospects and to your player development. And when you look at the hockey, it's two levels. It's the AHL, it's the ECHL. Now, I want people to understand that it's not like baseball. Like, there's not a development system like, well, okay, you draft me in the third round of last year's draft, you're going to start me down at the EHL because it's the lowest level. That's not how it works. It doesn't. The ECHL is more of a developmental, you might have potential, let's see what you got, we'll play you down there. And if you play your way into a better situation, we'll promote you, or have your contract purchased by the Phantoms. And then you'll go from there, Jacob Gauthier is a example of that pathway to the NHL, right? So it's not like AAA, AA. It's not. I want people to understand it's not. It doesn't work the same way, because the majority of your younger talent don't even play in the ECHL or the AHL. They don't. They play in either NCAA, they play in the CHL up in Canada, or they play in other leagues around the world. The SHL, the KHL, the MHL, play, leagues like that. And then when they're ready, they usually come over and go right into the NHL, or at very least the AHL. So it's not your traditional pipeline to the NHL. It works differently based on your skill level, your age, your contract situation. Because once a player agrees to a contract, you got 3 years with that player. You got 3 years before they hit their first RFA eligibility. Right. So the clock is ticking as soon as you decide, all right, you're pro, you're going to come down and you're going to be part of this organization. So you're not going to start a player's contract ticking until you think you can start maximizing the most out of that player. So the NHL works a little differently. In baseball, it's 7 years from the time that you get to the majors is when your contract starts. And in hockey, it's 3 years once you sign pro. So it's a different situation. So I decided to take a look, and I take a look every night. We've gone through every Flyer prospect in this organization this season. There's like 30 of them, and we went through every single one of them since October. And we've gone over the names, the places, the teams, the nickname teams. I mean, the crazy QG MHL players and all that. So, and I said, you know what? How far are we off of a core? Because a lot of talk is about the core, about the Flyers. Who is the Flyers core? And I honestly can't answer that question, because you got Michkov and you got Konechny, right? Other than that, I don't know who else the other players are that you would consider the core of the Flyers. And that's a little concerning. Right. I mean, you can throw Forrester and Brink and Cates and Tippett. You can throw those names at me, and I'll tell you that they are part of this, but are they the core? Are you telling me that the core group of this team, the players that are essentially untouchable? So is Tippett untouchable? He's not. Is Cates untouchable? He's not. Forrester, no. Brink, no. They're all touchable. Michkov's not touchable, and Konechny's not touchable. But other than that, who is the core of this team? And you can't have a core with just two players. That's a duo, not a core. And that's scary to me. Because how do you expect to win a Stanley Cup with a core that consists of two players? You're not going to do that, because you don't have enough talent in order to do that. So I'm thinking, you know what? It can't be that bad right now. There's got to be other players burdening right underneath the surface that are about to burst onto the scene. So I went and I took a deeper dive of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms because this is the next level down. These are the players that are burgeoning to come on and be the next greatest thing. So I want to go through very quickly. I'm not going to spend an hour talking about these guys, but I want to go through the Lehigh Valley Phantoms real quick. And I want to try to wrap my head around where the core of this of the next generation of Flyers is. So let's start off with our boy Rodrigo Abolas, right? Been up and down throughout the season. You know, he's a 7th round pick from 2016. I don't even know if you can consider him a prospect anymore. So I want to say he's what he is, a career AHLer, fringe NHLer. Emil Andre, all right, 2020 2nd round pick. He's probably one of the more, not concerning, but confusing Flyer players. He shows bursts of brilliance, and then he shows bursts of disaster. He's up and down, inconsistent. He's definitely a Flyer of the future. Now, whether or not he's the next core, and God knows we need help more on the defense than anything else, I would be well to wrap my arms around Emil Andre. But is he untouchable? Has he shown enough to say this guy is going to be part of what we're building in Philadelphia over the next 10 years? I don't think he has shown enough of that right now, but he's definitely in that list. Louis Belpedo, a 3rd round pick in 2014. Again, this guy is who he is. He's a career AHLer, a fringe NHLer. I don't know why you can't even call him a prospect anymore. Elliot Denoyer, 2020 5th round pick. I really liked him when the Flyers selected him during the pandemic year. I really thought he was going to work out, but every passing year is the same story with this kid. He just doesn't seem to be. I don't even think he's been to the Flyers in his career, other than in training camp in the preseason. He is not part of the future of the Flyers. He's probably a camp guy and a career AHLer. And it's a shame because his brother, Caleb, is a highly touted prospect in this year's draft. We talked about him on this program. So maybe the Flyers bring Caleb in here and he smacks some sense into his older brother. I don't know, but for the most part, Elliot Denoyer is a bust. Oscar Eklund, a UDFA, was brought here a couple years ago. Was it last year on a trade? Bounced around throughout the European leagues. He's bounced around a little bit in the NHL. Again, he's a body. He's a camp guy. He's a guy you call up when your team's been hit with injury and you need someone to skate. But he's not a core. Jacob Gauthier, we talked about Jacob earlier. He's a great story. UDFA who literally signed a PTO or prove-it deal with the Reading Royals. That contract was then picked up by the Phantoms. Then the Flyers picked up that contract, and he essentially went from the ECHL, from UDFA, undrafted, walk-on PTO status with the Royals all the way up to the Flyers, and he's currently was with the Flyers at one point. Now he's back down, but he is what he is. He's maybe somebody as a center. You know, we definitely need center, but he's a 4th-line center. That's all he really grades out to be. But he is somebody that you can have around. Maybe he's the next Louis Belpedo. I don't think he's a core player, though. Alexis Generon. I like this kid, but a 7th round pick in 2022 is kind of what he is, right? I don't know. I really expecting more from him. I've expected more from him since he's been in Lehigh. I don't know what the deal with this kid is. I don't know if it's the 5'9", 176 pounds that he just can't seem to kind of play above that. But I like what he provides. He's enough to keep around. But again, I'm not building a team around him. Adam Ginning, another one, 2018. Again, are we still calling a player selected in 2018 a prospect? Again, career AHLer. Ben Gleason, player will be picked up this year. Career AHLer, UDFA in 2018. Helge Grond, you see the friggin' kind of trend here with the Phantoms? A career AHLer. A 2020 2nd round pick from the Kings. This is a bust of a draft pick, obviously, because you could still say a 2020 2nd round pick should still be kind of looking to be a hit, but he's already been given up. The Kings already gave up on him. Here, remember some of the younger now. Nikita Graboinkin is one of the players the Flyers picked up in the Scott Laughton deal. 2022 5th round pick from Toronto. Again, potential future there as a left wing, right wing person, a forward, we'll call him a forward, could potentially be something that the Flyers can build the Phantoms around. Again, I'm not necessarily going to build the damn Flyers around him, but he's somebody that you can build the next generation of the Phantoms around. But he's got something. He's got some potential, but he's not core. Alexei Kovasov. We've talked about him in nauseum. He seems to be a little bit of a spoiled brat. I don't think he's back. I think at the end of the season is the last time you see Kovasov in a Flyers uniform or a Phantoms uniform. I think he decides to return to the KHL next year, and that's the end of that. Ole Lixell. All right. 6th round pick in 2017. Again, am I calling a draft pick from 2017 a prospect? He's not a core player. He's a career AHLer, fringe NHLer. And you need those guys, but the Flyers seem to have an overabundance of them in the AHL. Hunter McDonald, 6th round pick in 2022. Still too young to know what you got here. 6'4", 205. Loving that. Loving that. There could be a place for Hunter McDonald as we revamp this defensive core. Maybe still a little too young to kind of figure out, but a 6th round pick, I don't know. Zayd Wisdom, drafted in the 4th round 2020, the same draft that produced Desnoyers. And in the same result as Desnoyers, a bust. Zayd Wisdom is a AHLer. Nothing more, nothing less. Not that it's bad, personally. He's going to be able to, scratch out a career in hockey, but he's nothing to build a team around. Giovanni Smith, another player the Flyers picked up. Was it in the when did we pick him up? We picked him up in the Lawton deal. No, not the Lawton deal. Was it the Eric Johnson deal? Yep. Came over from Colorado. Again, 6th round in 2016. Am I calling him a prospect? John Randall, UDFA. A 6 foot, 174-pound center. That ain't working for me. Tony Dick. There you go. Steve, where you at, man? 4th round pick from Nashville in 2015. Tony Dick is what he is, man. Jacob Peltier, brought over in the Morgan Frost in the what was the other guy? Joel Farabee trade from Calgary. 2019 1st round pick. Obviously, there's something there. Jacob Peltier probably will be in the Phantoms next year when everything balances out. He'd probably be, I don't know, be kind of up and down. He's someone to keep around, but is you building your team around him? No, but he's something there. Massimine Rizzo. For some reason, Danny B coveted this guy. I don't know why. 2019 7th round pick from Carolina. We brought him over. I believe it was in the who was the defenseman everybody hated? You know what I'm talking about. Guy who played for the Rangers. You know what I'm talking about. What's his name? Played here a couple years ago. Yeah, I'll come to me in a second. You know who I mean. Then we're going to move into some of our foreign players. Samuel Tumala. There's a lot of high hopes for this kid. A 2021 2nd round pick. There's some possibilities here. He's still trying to grow into his NHL body. And then our final AHL player that we're going to talk about is Ethan Sampson, a 2021 6th round pick, right-hand defenseman who we need. Can never have enough of those guys. So basically, the simple part of this exercise was this. I can only put 2 players on the Flyers and assign them as core members of the team. I got Michkov and I got Konechny. Everybody else is expendable on the Flyers right now, on the Flyer roster. But when I look a little lower in the AHL, I don't see much more. I don't see much of a talent pool there. We're complaining that we don't have any talent in Philadelphia. Well, I'm going to sit back and fire back at you that we don't got no talent in Lehigh Valley either. So my concern is when you're trying to rebuild a franchise, you got to establish the core. Who is the core? And if we have not established that core yet, we're light years away from being a competitive franchise. And it really kind of blew my mind about the near future and how devoid of talent we are. NHL talent, not role players, not camp guys, not plug and play injury guys. No, I mean bona fide NHL talent. How devoid we are of that talent in this organization. Now, there's going to be pushback and tell me that certain like Forrester, Cates, and Brink are not untouchable. The hell they aren't. Of course they are. They're a great little third line unit. And if you don't, I'm not saying you move away from them because you've already established a third line. But if someone's comes around looking for Bobby Brink and wants to give you a first round draft pick, see you later, dude. Pack your bags and get the hell out. All right. The only two players on this team that I'm not saying that to is Michkov and Travis Konecny, because no one's going to come around asking about Travis Konecny because of his 8-year contract extension, because no one's going to be able to afford that. Not that I have love for Travis Konecny, is that I know I'm bound to him financially, and no one's coming to take that responsibility off of me. So there's concerns here. Not only is there devoid of talent at the NHL level, but there's really nothing at the AHL level. So I said, you know what? It can't be that bad. Let's go a level below. Not to the ECHL, because that will really make you cry, but down to major junior hockey and out in NCAA and some leagues around Europe. Let's look at some of the players that potentially could come here and be that talent. And let's start with one of our more favorite projects, Spencer Gill, currently playing up in the QMJHL. 5'11", 185-pound right-handed defenseman. We can't have too many of those. I fully anticipate Spencer Gill making the jump from major junior hockey to pro hockey this spring. I do. Denver Barkey, the much coveted third-round 2023 pick out of the London Knights, the centerman, has all the tools, is a 5-tool guy or 3-tool guy in hockey, but he has not gone through puberty yet. And I don't mean that to be rude. I'm not trying to be rude. 5'9" and 154 pounds. Dude, I was that when I was 13 years old. All right. So he needs to grow the hell up a little bit. And I don't mean that like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. The man needs to go through puberty, or the boy needs to go through puberty, become a man, put on about 6 inches and about 200 pounds, or about 100 pounds. All right, maybe 75 pounds. But he's got what it takes. But I don't know structurally if he's ready to come up to the NHL yet. Jack Berg, the center from the Fagerstedt of the Swedish Hockey League, second-round pick in 2024, might be a little too young to pull from the SHL right now. Maybe another year in Sweden, and then you can possibly be talking about Jack. But Jack's definitely got some tools, man. 6'3", 209 pounds, and he can skate. That's a big boy. And then one of our highly coveted prospects, Oliver Bonk. If he does not make the move to pro this year, I'm going to the Wells Fargo Center myself. I'm going to slap Danny B in the face. There is nothing more Oliver Bonk can learn in major junior hockey for a 5th year next year. Oliver Bonk needs to come and make the conversion from major junior hockey to pro hockey now. We need him. Right-hand defenseman, 6'2", 179 pounds. He's a scorer. He's kind of like Jamie Drysdale, but with talent. I need to see some Oliver Bonk in a Flyer uniform or a Phantoms uniform in the very near future. Devlin Kaplan, a 6-foot or a third-round pick in 2022, finishing up, I believe it's his third year or his second year. Second year. He's finishing up his second or third year. What the hell year is it? Second year in Boston College or Boston University. Does he make the pushover? I think he should. Our first-round pick from last year, Jet Lechenko. Whatever. He was a good story coming out of camp. Does he have something there? Yeah, he's got immense speed. Is there a place for Jet Lechenko on this team? Yes. But is it a core place? Is it based on what we've seen out of him? And I don't know if you can make an assessment after one season, but he's got something, right? It's time to kind of move him up. Ila Patupov from the MHL, man. A 5'11", 168-pound right wing is going to get absolutely destroyed. He can move like the wind. But if anybody catches them, don't forget the Russian ice is very wide and very long. NHL ice is narrow and short. He might not be able to dip and dive out of problems. And if somebody lines him up in the NHL, they're going to kill him. He's a little too small, but he's got talent. And then, of course, Ethan Sampson. So there you go. There's the next line of defense. So there's some promise there. Unfortunately, I know I probably said that 5 years ago about Elliot Desnoyers and said, oh, you know what? He's got some, when he was playing in major junior hockey. Oh, yeah, he's got some talent. And he's been a complete bust. So I did this little exercise to prove one thing, that for those of you out there who are thinking that this is an overnight fix, that the Flyers are going to flip the switch, and I'm not saying that they need to do something in year 3. Year 3 of this rebuild needs to show some sort of steps forward, either at the NHL, preferably at the NHL level. But when you're looking at the Flyers, we know what they are. You have a core that's consisting of 2 players, and that's it. And then you look at the AHL, there's nothing in the AHL. There is nothing at all that you could say, yeah, long-term, these guys right now grade out to be long-term contributing members of the Flyers. There's nothing. There's nothing there. The next level, there's something there. And then you got the draft this year. So I go back to the very beginning of this. Hextall ran the wheels off this organization. And then Chuck Fletcher slammed it into a wall. And now Danny B is trying to repair it. And it's extensive damage. It's not just damage at the NHL level. It's damage at the AHL level, and it's damage lower levels too. So the problems with the Flyers were never just in Philadelphia. They were organizational, and that takes time to reset. And right now, it just doesn't look good because it's not. But with 12 draft picks, 7 in the first 2 rounds, a bunch of cap, we can start making steps in the right direction, but it all depends on Danny B's drafting ability. I was not in favor of drafting Jet Lachenko in the first round. I'm sorry, I wasn't. I don't know how it's going to work out. What they do with all their picks this year, yeah, I don't think he's taking 12 draft picks. Yeah, hey, he does, but if he takes all his draft picks, it's going to be another bad year next year in Philadelphia, all right? I think he's going to trade some of them, but I just wanted you guys to see that it's not just the Flyers. There's no quick fix for this team right now. There's no magic wand they're going to wave down in Allentown and say, you know what, go up to Philadelphia and fix all their problems. There's just no talent. And when I mean no talent, there's just no talent in the organization at the top 2 levels. Lower, there's some promise, but that's it. It's all potential at this point. The known talent, the known pro talent that the Flyers have in their system and with their NHL team is just not good. And that is why we are where we are. And it didn't happen overnight. No, it took 2 GMs to screw it all up. But now it's time to replace it. So I wanted to kind of maybe tell you or try to hope and point you, and I don't know, it provides some perspective. I don't know what my overarching attempt of this was, but I know a lot of people are getting frustrated with the Flyers and the Phillies. Oh, hey, Mike, how you doing? Hello, Barbara. Did I miss the Phillies stuff and the Flyers? Did I talk about the Phillies? Did I? No. Yes. Did I? No. I still haven't talked about the Phillies yet. Barbara says Kevin Hayes. Is it the Kevin Hayes contract that's coming? No, it's the Provorov contract that comes off this year. Hayes is next year. How about the concerns of no improvements from last year? I just kind of went through them all. I just told you, no talent there, Al. And then I don't, and the question, I guess, when you're talking about the Flyers is why the drop-off from one year to the next? So bad. Like, how did the team that is essentially the same team last year hold us the 6th seed in the East up until the end, and then this team that are relatively the same teams, where's the disconnect? And I don't have an answer for you. And I guess I'm going to go to the default answer, Sean Walker. I mean, that seems to be the popular answer around here. As soon as Sean Walker left, he took everything with him, took all the mojo with him. It's the Matt Niskanen effect. You know what I mean? They had that one good veteran defender that apparently rips it all apart when he leaves. I don't have an answer, but there's some glaring holes from teams from year to year. And I now that you mention it, Al, thank you for prompting me to bring up another tracker. I like to talk stats. So two of the things that I've been keeping an eye on, and I usually keep an eye on year to year for the Flyers, are the obviously the shorthanded, the PK, and giveaways. All right, these are two major stats for me when it comes to hockey. So last season, the Flyers were shorthanded 241 times, and they killed 201 of those for 83.4% effective rate shorthanded. So far this year, the Flyers have been shorthanded 171 times and have killed 136 for 79.5. So their PK is down, almost 5 percentage points then from last year, 84 to 79. Yeah, about 5 or so. Now, the other stat that'll blow your friggin' mind, giveaways. Now, we all know in hockey what a giveaway is. It's not a turnover. A giveaway is an unforced error in hockey. It's a overskate. It's a whiffed pass. It's a bad pass. It's an unforced error that a team creates. In 23-24, the Flyers committed 456 giveaways throughout the regular season for an average of 5.5 giveaways a game. So far, through 69 games in 24-25, the Flyers have committed 1,069 giveaways for an average of 15.4 a game. That, to me, is the stat that truly deserves to be looked into deeper. Why is this team averaging almost 10 percentage points more in giveaways in a season than they were last year? That blows my mind, that stat, and how bad it is from last year. I have no explanation for that because I've never seen anything quite that drastic. To go from 5.5 giveaways a game in 23-24 to 15.4 a game this year. I can't wrap my head around it, man. And no one asked that question. No one asked John Tortorella, why can't your team not hold on to the puck? That's never been asked. I've never heard that question breached. Michael says Sixers are pitiful. Yeah, I don't have the strength to go into the Sixers, Michael. But I'll talk about them if you want. Flyers and Sixers are an embarrassment to the city of Philly, their fans. I can't argue the Sixers, but I can argue and clap back on the Flyers, man. I mean, at least the Flyers, and to Danny B's credit, and to the Flyers ownership credit, they've at least peeled off the bandage and faced the reality and told the fans, hey, we screwed up and now we got to rebuild. Daryl Morey has not admitted to that yet. He refers to AI to make trades. Didn't Chuck Fletcher do that as well? At the end there, was going on an app to find out a trade generator to see what trades he should be making at the trade deadline. The ownership and management of both the Flyers and Sixers suck donkey balls. Al, clean up in aisle 9. Oh, man. Oh, Barbara coming out of left field with that. So with that being said, let me let you know that this program and everything else on the It's a Wrap Sports Network is brought to you by the good folks over at Big Al's Excuse Emporium. That's right, Big Al's Excuse Emporium, serving the Delaware Valley since the summer of 2024. If you are in need of if you cannot accept the reality of your Philadelphia sports teams, if you are having a hard time looking yourself and facing yourself in the mirror of the status of the Sixers, Flyers, or Phillies, or Eagles, then Big Al's Excuse Emporium is for you. They have everything to satisfy all the reality issues that you're having with this team. So give Big Al and his associates a holler down at Big Al's Excuse Emporium, serving the Delaware Valley since 2024. And that was brought to you by Barbara. Oh, man. Barbara. Comcast blows. So actually, Michael, I don't know if you were around for the first part of the show, but we did our day in Philadelphia sports history, and it was the day that Bobby Clark recorded his 1,000th NHL point. But there was another event that happened on this day in Philly sports history back in '96, and that was when Comcast announced its purchase of 66% stake in the Flyers and Sixers. So essentially, on this day, Michael, in 1996, Comcast became a managing partner in both the Flyers and Sixers. So kind of backs up Michael's little Comcast blows statement there. I didn't go with that one. I went with the Bobby Clark one. I thought that was more of a enlightening one. She loves the important. Yeah, so do I. Worked there all my life. Comcast and Josh Howard should both sell. I don't know. They should, but they won't because they making money. They making money. All right. So anyway, to wrap up my point about the Flyers, and I guess maybe the Flyers wasn't an optimistic approach here, but it's not good. It's not good. There's lack of talent at the NHL level. There's no core because you cannot call a duo a core. A core is multiple players. A duo is two. And right now, Michkov and Konechny are the only two players that I realistically would say are hands off. And to be honest with you, bluntly honest with you, if I was running the show, there's no Flyer player that's untouchable right now. Nobody in the system, nobody on the team, nobody in the AHL, ECHL, they're all tradable if you ask me. But realistically, for the purpose of this exercise, we can call Michkov and Konechny the two untouchables, but that's not a core, it's a duo. And then when you look at the AHL, there's nothing there. There's a lot of career AHL players, fringe NHLers, camp guys, plug and play injury guys, but nothing that you can assume to build a team around. And there's some help potentially on the way with the lower level players, but we'll see. But that's the reality of the Flyers. Barbara says Pat Croce and the fitness dude ran the Sixers. Yeah, they did a damn good job too, man. I long for those days when Pat Croce ran the team, man. Michael says the Sixers will also lose by 33. Well, you know what, Michael? With what they're fighting for that 6th overall pick. I mean, there's no sense in the Sixers winning, right? There's no more sense in that. Just like there's no more sense in the Flyers winning. It's over, man. Run up the white flag. Now let's look at the draft. All right. I mean, it is what it is. Now, I'm not, again, please don't take that for a capitulation I'm on board with it. I'm not, especially when it comes to the Flyers. The Sixers, I could really care less. Honestly, I mean, they're it all went downhill with the Sixers when they decided to keep Ben Simmons and move on from Jimmy Butler. That was the end of it. That was the end of the process. That was the end of the Sixers right there. And if you go back in time and live in an alternate reality where they keep Jimmy Butler and get rid of Ben Simmons, I would love to see where that alternate reality would run the Sixers. I would really love to see that because I guarantee it'd probably be fun, a fun little trip. I'm not saying they would win championships, but they definitely would get past the second round, and it would probably be fun to watch. Flyers at the highest of highs, now the lowest of lows. Yeah, Barbara. And again, going through that little exercise that I did, it doesn't give much faith and confidence that there's help on the way because there doesn't seem to be. Now, every draft, every year, hope springs eternal. They have money. They can trade. There are some free agents available. They're older free agents. They don't fit with the motif of what Danny B's doing because of their age. But you would think you got to walk a line next year of building a future champion and giving the fans something, man. You think you would have to start doing that. The Flyers haven't been relevant since Lindros. They were relevant after that, but not consistent. Relevant, yes. Consistent, no. Hockey became stale since when they took checking away and every other rule on Let's Play. Yeah, it's definitely more of a finesse game these days. I agree. How are you tonight? Just done working. Well, I'm glad that you're here, Joe, and I'm doing well. Run a little late tonight. We went on at 9, not at 8, so I've been on for a little over an hour. With that being said, let's get to our of the night segment, as we are running kind of late tonight. So let's get to our of the night segment here on the program as we get through our Wednesday night. Yep. Our other nice segments when we take a Flyers prospect, a Phillies prospect, a Flyer potential draft pick, a Phillies potential draft pick, or a spotlight player, and we just kind of cut it up, man. Cut it up. And we have some fun with it. Barbara says Flyers had some more loyal fans than the Sixers over the years. Honestly, they have. But the Flyers have given us their fan base a lot more to cheer about than the Sixers have over the years, haven't they? I mean, Sixers have gone through little highs and sustained lows. Little highs and sustained lows. The Flyers have had actually a pretty, up until recently, they were always relevant. They were always a playoff team. They were always in the conversation. And they always gave their fan bases something more to cheer for year after year. Optimism, right? The Sixers have, it's been pretty consistent with the Sixers. It's either they're bad or they're good. There's been really no in between with them since they won the championship in '83. So that wears on a fan base. It truly does. And it would wear on me. So I mean, I kind of got to go into that side. Yes, I will do the card review tonight. The Flyers were a proud organization at one time. Now they're a joke. Now I wouldn't say they're a joke, Michael. I say they were trending in the joke area. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and defend them. It was bad for a while. I mentioned Hextall and Fletcher at nauseum. They were two very bad GMs. And it's a shame because Hextall, an all-time Flyer, is now tainted, right? His legacy is now tainted here because of what he did with this organization. And Chuck Fletcher, you just didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what he was doing. Was he rebuilding or was he going for a Stanley Cup? Because he was trying to do both at the same time, and you can't do that. And it caused a lot of confusion with the Flyers, and it caused a lot of losses as well. Flyers have won a Stanley Cup since the 70s, Sixers 83, no difference. Yeah, no, listen, Michael, you're not going to get much of an argument from me when it comes to this, right? Because I'm all about the championships, and both franchises have definitely been devoid of hardware. But when you look at it's not segregated towards the Flyers and Sixers. The Phillies have been in existence for over 150 years and have won 2 world championships. The Eagles, up to recently, 2 Super Bowls in the last 7 years, but up to that point, none. So I get what you're saying. And to me, it's all about the championships as well. But 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I got the same venom about the Eagles. And I still give out the same venom about the Eagles. So I'm not disagreeing with you, Michael. I'm not. But the Eagles suck for 60 years. Be careful calling out the Flyers, please. Well, they did suck for 60 years, and the Flyers are approaching 60 years, Barbara. I mean, they're what, 10 years off? And I don't have 10 more years, Barbara. I don't have 10 more years of this left. I don't know if I could take 10 more years of this. I need something. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I need a Stanley. I mean, of course, I would love a Stanley Cup next year. That would be one of the greatest turnarounds in sports history. But I need a playoffs. I need a playoff run. I need, like it was last year, I need relevant hockey up till the end of the season. None of this we're giving up and throwing our hands in the air in mid-March, or late February. I can't. I need more. So, but I feel you. And to single out the Sixers and Flyers for championship ineptitude and not talk about the Phillies and Eagles in the same breath, that's a little ridiculous, because it's not like we come from, it's the greatest sports city in America with the least amount of championships to show for it. So, and it's not the Flyers and Sixers who are holding on that torch. No, everyone's got an equal share to that. The Eagles are pulling themselves out of the doldrums. But if you still look at it holistically, 59 Super Bowls, the Eagles got 2 of them. I mean, look at it that way. It happens that their success has now come recently. So, and the Phillies, 1883, 2 world championships. So let's hold back on crucifying the Sixers and Flyers, unless you're going to put a couple extra crosses up there as well, because the other 2 need to go up there too. If Torps gets fired, who do you want as Flyers coach? I don't want Torps fired. I don't. And to ask me who I would want, I have spent zero amount of time thinking about that. But if they're going to fire John Tortorella, if they decide you know what? We've had enough of your tactics and antics. Promote Ian Lapierre from the AHL. Put Lappy up there. Make him the new Flyers head coach. Because you need someone that's in the organization that knows some of these players, that knows some of these prospects, that's worked with these kids. Because the working phase of this development, the working stage of this rebuild, working with these players is not over with yet. There's still a lot of work to be done with these kids. So you need somebody that has knowledge of those players. And you need somebody that, I'm not saying is a John Tortorella clone, because Lapierre is not, but you still need someone that can continue the work seamlessly as possible. So if you're asking me if he got fired, it would be Ian Lapierre from the Phantoms. That's why I want to see replace him. That's my honest answer. Laffy is a Flyers, so you would be okay in my book. Yeah, and again, it's not like we've turned the page on this process yet. You know, it's not like we're like, okay, we're a head coach away from winning a Stanley Cup. We got the pieces here. We got the young talent. We got the wellspring, the core. We got all that. Now we got to turn it loose to a Stanley Cup pedigree head coach. We're not there yet, man. We're not. I don't know how much longer John Tortorella has left personally in him. I don't know how much longer he wants to do this. But the teaching phase of this is not over yet. And that's unfortunate too. And that's why I need to see a little bit more from Danny B to kind of push that part of this along faster too. I want to see Pronger as a coach. Yeah, he wouldn't be a bad coach. All right, let's get back to the other night segment. I got stuff to do here, man. You guys are throwing me off. All right, so tonight we're only going 2 for 2 tonight. We're not doing 3 for 3. Our first, we're going to talk Philly Spotlight tonight because we are 8 days away, folks. 8 days away, and I'm only about 2 more Flyers away from finishing up the Philly Spotlights for the year. So let's continue it with another core member of the Phillies. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna go with a core member, Mr. Trea Turner. Hopefully, your new leadoff hitter in 2025. Last season, 102 games, a .295 batting average, 21 homers, 62 RBIs, and .807 OPS. He did commit 17 errors, which has been a new norm for him when it comes to defense. And he missed those 6 crucial weeks early on. Well, back in May through June with that hamstring injury that I think might have been one of the contributing factors of the Phillies' collapse. I really do. If you recall, when Turner went down, he was having an MVP season. I'm not lying. Through the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season, he was knocking the cover off the wall. He was doing everything you wanted him to do. And then that injury occurred. And then after that, things sort of began to unravel. Now, let's look at Trea Turner holistically. All right? I don't know where the defensive problems arose when he came here. He was always iffy with the glove. I'll give you that. But he has been straight negligent with the glove since he's been here. I believe 23 errors in 2023 and 17 errors in 2024. That's the most in his career in 2 seasons. The fact that I don't think the Phillies have put him in the proper spot in the lineup at all since he's been here might have also provided some of that inconsistency with the bat. I thought last year he was, as I mentioned, off to a MVP type start. Then he got hurt and it kind of derailed him. And he really never kind of got it back together again. 21 homers and only 62 RBIs. This is a common theme if you look at some of these power hitters or these hitters on the Phillies. They have over like 20, 25 home runs or between the 20 and 35 home run range, but their RBI totals are extremely low. Why is that? We look at Bryce Harper, 30 home runs and 89 RBIs. Why is that? The only one that balanced out was Schwarber. I think he had like 35 homers and 110 RBIs or something like that. But if you look consistently around the Phillies lineup from last season, their numbers are up when it comes to power, but their RBIs are low. They're like middling. Why is that? And that's a systematic problem with the Phillies because they can't seem to either get runners on base or drive runners in when they're there. So Trea Turner, though, holds a key to the 2025 success of the Phillies. He holds a very crucial role in that success. I believe he's best served leading off, and I believe he is best served being that guy in the lineup and getting not only the nod to lead off, but getting the Nick Castellanos seal of patience from Rob Thompson, right? Rob Thompson went a whole season and never once removed Nick Castellanos from the lineup, regardless of how bad he was playing. I need to see the same type of loyalty given to Trey Turner as he tries to figure out to be the Phillies' new leadoff hitter, if that's the way they go. I don't care about Schwarber bitching and moaning about batting fourth. I don't want to hear it. I don't care if Turner's batting 85 leadoff. He needs to stay in that leadoff spot till he figures it out. Defensively, he is what he is. I know there's talk about moving Stott over to short and Miller and all that. That's all great. But right now, that messes up the lineup. You're going to have to live with Turner at short. Turner does have some flashes with that glove. They're not consistent, and he's got more inconsistencies with the glove than he does have consistencies. I will give you that. But still, he's the best option at shortstop for the Phillies. He is a key member of what the Phillies are going to be in 2025. Like it or not, he's a key member, and he's a key contributing factor of that. And if he can start off and maintain the type of season that he began with in 2024, we might be in for a great ride. He's got to stay healthy, and he's got to be given an opportunity. If given the leadoff spot, if given that position, he's got to be given the opportunity, the same type of opportunity that the Nick Castellanoses of the world got last year to make that spot his own. So there you go. Our Philly Spotlight Player of the Night, Trey flippin' Turner. Ooh, man. Barbara says Torts is a good coach, but he's trying with a bad bunch of players. And that kind of sums it up. Here's one of our biggest needs as a goalie. Also, the Flyers haven't had a good goalie since Pelly. Michael, I don't disagree with that. And you're right. You add goalie to that list. We got some in the system, but they're years away. The Flyers are going to they're going to have to go out and sign a goalie. There's a couple of veterans out there next year. They're going to have to sign a starting goalie next year to a 2-year contract, 3-year deal, something small. But that we need a starting goalie until we can bridge the gap to some of these prospects. I like Trey. People get on him in the slumps, but not Harper, JT Schwarber. Yeah, I like him too. If Trey Turner is healthy, he wins a batting title this coming year. You know what, Joe? You might be right. I thought he was on his way to winning one last year before he got hurt, and he never quite. And I remember when he got hurt, I'm like, oh man, he's going to miss significant time. I'm like, oh come on, man. I knew it was going to, and I knew he wasn't going to be able to get back on track. But he got out of the gates hot last year. Him and Schwarber both. And boom, I'm a Trey corner always. Yeah, Trey will lead off until Schwarber starts, and that's my concern. That's my concern, Barbara. I don't want to see any of that nonsense. Give Trey Turner the same opportunity that you give Nick Castellanos by playing him all last season when he was swinging at things in the moon. So give him the same type of courtesy. All right, let's finish it up with our second part of the night segment, and that's our Phillies prospect. And we're going to go with Moises Chase. That's right. He was the right-hand pitcher that came over in the Greg Soto deal last year from the Baltimore Orioles. Projects to start the season out with Reading. He finished the season with Reading and projects to start the season out with the Reading Titans. He had a strong and compact 6'1" frame. Chase reminds some of a young Christian Javier with the making of an elite level repertoire. It starts with an invisible fastball that comes from low release and a ton of ride up in the zone. It averaged 94.5 miles per hour in 2024 and was up to 98 miles an hour, missing a ton of bats along the way. 41% miss rate last year. He backs it up with 3 secondary offerings in his sweeper, a hard cutter, and a changeup. The Phillies think could be an above average eventually. Yeah, I like the return here in the Soto trade. I liked him. I liked Seth Johnson as well. I thought those were pretty good returns for Dominguez and Soto. Obviously, I didn't like the return on friggin' Estevez, the Angels, giving up Algieri and I forget the other guy they gave up. But Moises Chase, if you saw him, he pitched in the breakout game last week on Friday. Definitely has some stuff. Definitely, I could see him in about a year or two, maybe fighting for a position in the Phillies rotation. I like what he has. Definitely keep an eye on him. I'll be keeping an eye on him, and I'm sure he'll be appearing on a lot of our down the farm stuff this year. But there you go. Our Phillies prospect of the night, Moises Chase, the right-hand pitcher from the Titans. And that will finish our of the night segment. Schwarber has 16. Yeah, I mentioned that at the beginning of the show, Barbara. I did a little based on your intel. By the way, Barbara, a hard-hitting It's a Rep Sports journalist. She broke the news this morning, and I actually created a little Twitter graphic about that, Barbara. You need to head over and check that out on our Twitter. But yeah, I mentioned it. You know, the king of spring Ks, this is Kyle Schwarber, struck out pretty much half his at bats so far this season. All right, that's going to take me to my final segment, man. We're going long tonight, baby. That's what I'm talking about. To my most fun part of the night, man. Boom.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
Yeah. It's the card review segment. It's the time of the show where we talk one of my many Philadelphia. No, not Philadelphia. But one of my many sports cards, and we just kind of cut it up. Last night we talked about Dale Howard-Chuck. The player, a really good centerman, solid number 2 all-time NHL centerman, right? Played for the Flyers at the end of his career. Died, unfortunately, at the age of 57 back in 2019 of stomach cancer. But we talked about his 1990-91 Topps base card from the Winnipeg Jets that had on the bottom written on it, "Now with the Sabres," right? We talked about that card. Tonight, we're staying with Dale Howard-Chuck, and we're staying in 90-91 because I have another card. I don't have a graphic for this. I didn't get a chance to do it, but here's tonight's card. It's Howard-Chuck's 90-91 All-Star card. Topps in 90-91, when they were doing hockey, did a All-Star. Their parallel or their insert for that year was to feature all the All-Stars from the year prior. And this card that I just showed you, the 90-91 Howard-Chuck card, is quite more valuable than the actual base card from 90-91 of Howard-Chuck. This card, I've seen it on databases upwards to about $12 versus the base Howard-Chuck card, which I've seen $2 or $3 at the most. And again, we went over his player bio last night. Just a consummate NHL professional. Maybe was kind of not considered as good because of the era that he played in, playing around players like Lemieux, Gretzky, Messier. You know, he played in that era, but he held his own in that era with those players. And as I said, a solid number 2 line centerman on any team at any era of NHL hockey. Maybe a center 1 now, but mostly for the Winnipeg Jets throughout his playing career, but then also spent time with the Flyers and I believe the Capitals. And then of course died of stomach cancer in 2019. So taken from us way too soon in life. But Dale Howard-Chuck was last night was the player base card, and tonight we're going with his All-Star card from 90-91, back when Topps was making hockey cards. And again, I thought they really did a good job. Topps Hockey did. I have very, very, very vivid memories of opening up hockey cards in my basement in the early 80s or mid 80s. Yeah. God, man, I miss those days. Topps cards. So that's tonight's card of the night is the 1990-91 Dale Howard-Chuck. So kind of doing the duo of Howard-Chuck cards over the last 2 nights as we wrap that up. So again, rest in peace, Dale Howard-Chuck, a great player. And again, played at the end of his career with the Flyers too. So yeah. No, you're welcome, Barbara. Go check it out. You should go check it out. I used to love the NHL All-Star Game when it released. Yeah, the NHL All-Star Game was fun. And again, of course, the Four Nations was great this year. Speaking of cards, I just brought a Jalen Carter rookie card. Okay, Joe, tell me about the Jalen Carter rookie card. Is it what was it? Stadium, Upper Deck? Who was the company that made the card? Is it a base card? Is it a refractor? Is it a parallel? Is it a foil? What is it? Is it a base card, just a no-frills base card? Whatever it is, you need to put it in some plastic, stick it in a binder, and put it in a closet and forget about it because it might be worth some money in about 20 years. So it's an Upper Deck card. Okay, so is it a base Upper Deck? Is it a base card? Meaning is it just your standard base? It's not like nothing special. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Or send it to me. Yeah, I'll take it off your hands. But no, protect it. Put it away. Make sure nobody gets to it. Stick it in plastic. That's what I do. But Jalen Carter, Jalen Reagor, not Jalen. Did I just say Jalen Reagor? Jalen Carter. So base card. So let's look at it real quick. For Joe Hale's benefit, I'm going to run this real fast. Matter of fact, this is going to remind me, we're going to check in on our boy Paul Skeens tonight too, as we have one more night left in the Paul Skeens auction. Tomorrow's it. Tomorrow's the last day. So Jalen Carter, upper deck, rookie. Oh man, did I spell wrong? All right, so Jalen Carter. So his rookie card was what, 2023? Yeah. So upper deck. I don't have that. All right, so I'm seeing his rookie base cards right now from Panini, which is a subsidiary. $100, $100, $70. Yeah, you need to hold on to that card. $60. So the cheapest I saw it was at 60, and the most expensive I saw it was at 100. So keep a hold of that card there, Joe. Stick it in some plastic, man, and put it away. Or put it up on a site like eBay. Put it at like $150 on eBay and see if anybody bites. Or hold on to it because it could grade out to be more. Yeah. And Barbara says, "Well, 100 already." Yeah, it's the market, but it's like the stock market. You sell high, you buy low, and it's one day this card's worth $1 billion, the next day this card's it's worthless. Bryce Young is probably the biggest example of that recently. Bryce Young coming out of college to Carolina was a hot rookie card. At the end of his rookie season, you couldn't give him away. So it's a matter of sitting on cards or selling cards. It's literally playing the stock market. It's the sports stock market, so to speak. So it's very interesting. But listen, everybody, it is definitely time for me to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight and enjoying this program with me. I had a great time tonight. Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Let's check in on our boy Paul Skeens talking about the card business here. How can I not check in with Paul Skeens here? So for those of you that don't remember this, I'll refresh your memories. Paul Skeens, our boy from the Pittsburgh Pirates, the rookie phenom last year, Pirates pitcher, was given a Topps rookie MLB debut patch card in last year's Topps update Chrome series pack, which comes out towards the end of the season. And it was a 1-of-1. Where is it right here? It's this card right here. This was the holy grail of baseball cards in the 2024 season. And this card was so valued and so sought after that the Pirates put out a bounty on it that said anybody who finds this card and turns it into the Pirates, they will get 30 years of season tickets. They will receive a Paul Skeens swag bag of all kinds of signed merch. Be able to hang out with his girlfriend up there in the suite, just kind of chill out. So the card was purchased actually by a mom and dad on Black Friday as part of they bought their son a box of these cards of the Topps update series Chrome pack cards for Christmas. And this card was in the pack, in the box. The box was opened up on Christmas morning. It was the 5th pack of cards opened up by this 11-year-old kid who found the card. So they did not take the Pirates up on the bounty. They decided to put the card on auction, and they put it on auction on the 10th. It's on auction till tomorrow night. And currently, right now, 59 bids, $700,000 is the last bid for this card currently on the Fanatics Premier auction site. And it'll be on auction till tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Now, for all intents and purposes, that's kind of low. There was talk of $1 million figures. Now, I don't know in the last 24 hours will it get fast and furious. It potentially could. But $700,000 for one baseball card right now on the Fanatics auction site. Now, Did he make the right decision? If you sell the car for $700,000, could you have maybe sold your 30-year season tickets and made that $700,000 back? Could you have done that? I don't know, man. Interesting situation. But they went with the auction, and that's what they're sitting with. So we'll see. The prize of the night, a frolic with him and his girlfriend. Yeah. Well, she's a gymnast at LSU, his girlfriend. But that's your Paul Skeens update, folks, and that's going to wrap me for the night. And I'll be back tomorrow, maybe again a little later, maybe 10 o'clock tomorrow. We'll see. I'll let you guys know. But we will talk again tomorrow. And until then, I want to thank everybody for a great night. Remember, we covered a lot in an hour and 41 minutes. Big show tonight. So we'll talk again tomorrow real soon. Have a great rest of your night and a fantastic tomorrow. I'll see you.